I spent 5 years paying off a debt of gratitude, but all I got was my wife's heartless betrayal, so I decided to personally bring her and her first love together. Because the whole world knew I married the head of the song and dance troupe out of gratitude, but Suying Shui, who lived with me for 5 years, didn't. We've been married for 5 years. And now her first love is back. She stays out all day just to go see him. My daughter even clamors for her first love to be her dad. I smiled slightly and did 2 things in secret. First, I went to her father's grave and kowtowed 3 times. Back then you saved my life so that I could give your daughter a home. Now her love has returned, and my debt of gratitude is repaid. It's time for me to leave. The second thing was to take all my documents and apply to join the Northwest Aerospace program. Comrade Shen, have you considered this carefully? Joining the Northwest Aerospace program means you'll have no contact with the outside world for at least 5 years, maybe even 10 or decades. It's like giving your entire life to the country. I nodded firmly. My lifelong dream is to contribute to our country's development. It's fine even if I can never leave the base. I smiled slightly. If our predecessors could do it, so can I. For a peaceful and prosperous nation, someone must always be willing to shoulder the heavy burden. Hearing this, the 2 screening officers' eyes teared up. They shook my hand excitedly. Good, good, good. Our base needs people with such unwavering resolve. Comrade Shen, welcome to the aerospace program. We'll send a special car to pick you up in half a month. Your documents show you have a wife and daughter. They must be very attached to you. You must make sure to comfort them during this time. At the mention of wife and daughter, I faltered for a moment, then shook my head. There's no need. My wife and I aren't officially married, so it will be easy for me to leave. Besides, I've already decided to give up on both my wife and my daughter. I ignored their surprised looks, turned, and left the research institute. As soon as I got home and pushed the door open, I saw Zhou Shubai sitting on the sofa. Before I could even speak, Suying Shui came over with a plate of washed fruit and placed it on the table in front of him. She explained to me, Shubai's house has some issues. He'll be staying with us for a while. Her tone was not one of seeking permission. It was a simple notification. Shen Qingmen, my daughter, ran over and hugged Zhou Shubai's arm as if she was afraid I would be difficult. Dad, don't be so stingy. It's not a big deal for him to stay for a while. I love playing with Uncle Zhubai. He understands me much better than you do. I lowered my gaze and smiled slightly. All right, I agree. I was leaving in 2 weeks anyway, and Zhou Shubai would eventually become the man of this house. It was just happening a little sooner. What was there to disagree with? Hearing my agreement, Suyin Shui's hand, which was peeling an orange, paused. Her eyes showed a hint of surprise. Even Shen Qingma didn't expect me to agree so easily and was stunned for a moment. Zhou Shubai, on the other hand, pretended to be embarrassed. I don't think this is a good idea. Maybe I should stay at a guest house instead. Shen Qingmen's face crumpled, and she didn't even care about my strange behavior anymore. She grabbed Zhao Shubai's sleeve. No, Uncle Shubai, you have to stay. I want you to tell me stories. Su Yingshu also told him to sit back down and handed him the peeled orange. Guest houses aren't safe. Just stay here and don't worry. Zhou Shubai took the orange. This is so embarrassing. And, Yanzhou, I'm so grateful that you're not holding a grudge against me. I can't believe you're even letting me stay here. You've helped me so much. How can I ever repay you? Listening to his words, I smiled inwardly. This wasn't gratitude. This was Zhou Shubai flaunting their special past and how much he meant to Su Yingshui. But he was boasting to the wrong person. I didn't care back then, and I cared even less now that I was leaving. The next morning I heard a knock on the door downstairs. I was about to get up, but Su Yingshui beat me to it. I soon heard the front door open and a middle-aged woman's voice faintly carried up to me. Excuse me, is this Director Su's house? I quickly got up, threw on a jacket, and left the room. When I got to the top of the stairs, I saw Su Yingshu with her back to me, standing at the door. Her voice was cold, like the early winter wind. Who are you? The woman didn't seem to mind and smiled kindly. I'm the one the gentleman hired to clean and cook. Auntie! I quickly walked down the stairs and ushered her in. Please come in. Su Yingshu looked at me, her brows slightly furrowed with dissatisfaction. Didn't I say I don't like strangers in the house? I looked at her squarely. because she didn't like strangers, because she was a clean freak, and because my daughter was a picky eater. I had quit my job for the past 5 years, gave up my dreams, and became a stay-at-home dad, doing everything myself. But it wasn't because I loved her, it was to repay her father's kindness. Now that my debt was repaid, there was no need for me to continue being a stay-at-home dad. I calmed my thoughts and said flatly, "I'm busy lately and don't have time to do housework. You'll just have to deal with it." Su Ying's brows furrowed again. Just as she was about to ask for more details, Zhao Zhubai came out of his room. "Ying Shu, you're up so early. Why don't you come out and walk around with me? I haven't really seen Beiping since I got back." She immediately looked at him with gentle eyes. "I'll take you after we eat breakfast." The new auntie worked quickly and served a variety of breakfast items, but Su Yingshu and Shen Jingmin both frowned. They each took one bite and didn't touch it again. In the past, I would have immediately noticed their dissatisfaction, but now I just focused on eating my breakfast, not even sparing them a glance. On the other hand, Zhu Zhubai looked at the two of them and said, surprised, "The breakfast is really good today. Aren't you two satisfied?" Shen Jingmin poked the bun in her bowl and put down her chopsticks. "It's not even half as good as what Dad makes," she complained. Zhou Shubai's eyes darkened when he heard this. "Your dad is that good at cooking? Uncle will have to learn from your dad when I have time so I can cook for you and your mom, okay?" My hand, which was holding the steamed bun, paused. I glanced at my daughter and saw her clapping her hands excitedly. "Yay! Yay! Uncle Zhubai is the best at everything he does!" My thumb rubbed against the chopsticks. A hint of self-mockery appeared on my lips. After 5 years of meticulous nurturing, my daughter had never praised me. She was just like her mother. Their hearts could never be warmed. After finishing my breakfast, I picked up my bowl and chopsticks and walked toward the kitchen. As I was leaving, I heard Zhao Zhubai's warm voice. "Don't say that. Uncle Zhubai is a beginner. I can't compare to your dad. I just hope you won't dislike what I make." "How could that be?" "Don't worry, Uncle Zhubai. No matter how good my dad's cooking is in my heart, it's not as good as what you make. After all, you're my favorite, Uncle Zhubai." My expression didn't change as I turned and went into my room. I rummaged through the bookshelf and found a thick notebook. I took it, walked out, and knocked on Zhou Zhubai's door. He was putting on his jacket. He opened the door and saw me standing there holding out the notebook. He frowned. "What's this?" I smiled slightly. "Didn't you say you wanted to learn how to cook?" "This is my recipe book. It has all the dishes they like and their dietary restrictions written in detail. From now on, you can handle these things." Zhou Zhubai's expression stiffened. He had only said that casually. How could he actually do these things? Just as he was about to refuse, Su Yingzhu came down the stairs. He immediately put on a polite smile. "Thank you so much. I'll study it carefully." "What are you two doing?" Su Yingzhu asked from behind him. Zhou Zhubai quickly said, "Didn't I just say I wanted to cook for you and the child? I was just asking Yanzhou for your recipes." Su Yingzhu's brows furrowed. "That's just to entertain the child. You've never been in a kitchen. You don't need to do these things." "Yingshu, I want to do this myself. I've always wanted to make it up to you for what I did in the past." Su Yingshu's tender expression froze. It seemed she was also remembering the nights she spent tossing and turning and drinking to forget. Her voice was low. "It's all in the past. I never blamed you." Listening to them pouring their hearts out, I pursed my lips and couldn't listen anymore. I shoved the book into Zhou Zhubai's hands. "I have something to do at the department store. You two can take your time talking. I'm leaving." But before I could leave, Zhu Zhubai said, "Yanzhou, I was also going to the department store. Let's go together." I was forced to go with them. The department store was bustling with people. Su Yingshui and Shen Xingmen held Zhou Zhubai's arms, carefully picking out things for him. From a distance, they looked like a family. I looked away and walked toward the bookstore. I picked out several books on aerospace and went to pay. Su Yingshui saw the books in my hand and frowned. "Why are you suddenly interested in aerospace?" I had quit my job 6 months after we got married, but before that, I went to the Aerospace Research Institute every day. She had even given me a ride a few times. Had she forgotten, or had she never cared? When I had pursued her, it was easy. At that time, she probably had 2 thoughts. 1, to use another man to forget Zhou Zhubai, and 2, since she couldn't marry Zhou Zhubai. It didn't matter who she married. I had simply shown up at the right time. I pursed my lips and didn't explain. I just said, I suddenly felt like looking into it. Su Yingshu frowned. She felt like something was wrong, but she didn't press the matter. She took the books from my hand and put them on the counter. Then she took out money from her pocket. I quickly pulled the books back. "No, thank you. I'll pay for it myself." I took out some cash, paid for the books, and walked out. Su Yingshu's hand, which she had extended to pay, was left hanging in the air. She watched me leave. A strange feeling washed over her. In her memory, I had never been so cold to her. I was always chasing after her, and my eyes were always full of love. But ever since yesterday, everything I had done, letting Zhubai stay, hiring an auntie, and paying for my own books, it was all like I was trying to draw a line between us. Her heart panicked. Just as she was about to chase after me, she ran into a familiar person. "Director Su, what a coincidence! I was just about to go find you." The gentle voice pulled Su Yingshu out of her daze. She looked up and saw a colleague walking toward her respectfully. She composed herself. "What's the matter?" The colleague took a few tickets out of her bag. "The subsidies from above have come in. This month's subsidy is 3 tickets to a play. You and your husband can take the child to see it." Su Yingshu looked at the 3 tickets to The Red Detachment of Women. She suddenly remembered that I had recently mentioned wanting to see this play. She subconsciously reached out to hand me the tickets, but Zhou Shubai came up behind her. He saw the 3 tickets and was overjoyed. "It's The Red Detachment of Women. I've wanted to see it for a long time but couldn't get tickets. Yingshu, I really want to go. Can you take me?" As soon as he said that, Shen Xingmin hurried over. In a childish voice, she pleaded, "Mom, since Uncle Zhubai wants to go so badly, you should give him the ticket. I've never seen a play with Uncle Zhubai before. You can go with my dad next time." Looking at the child's pleading eyes, I smiled. There won't be a next time. Su Yingshui didn't say anything, but her expression showed she was hesitant. Realizing their choice, I smiled. "In that case, you 3 should go. I have something to do and will head back first." Without caring about their expressions, I turned and left with my books. Late at night, I sat on the sofa, carefully reading the books I had bought and taking notes. The clock on the wall went around and around. The door was pushed open at 11 o'clock. Zhu Shubai walked in, carrying shopping bags and supporting Su Yingshu. Shen Xingmen was draped around his neck, excitedly reliving the day's events. The 2 adults occasionally interjected, looking like a happy family. I put my book down and stood up. "You're back. Did you have fun today?" The sudden voice broke the warm atmosphere. The 3 of them instinctively looked at me. Maybe they didn't expect me to still be awake. Su Yingshu froze, her expression unnatural. Shen Jingmen, on the other hand, immediately ran from Zhu Shubai's arms to me. "Dad, we had so much fun today." I nodded calmly. "I'm glad you had fun." Su Yingshu glanced at her watch, placed the shopping bags on the sofa, and said, "I have some things to handle at the troupe. I'll be going now. You should get some rest." It was clear she was talking to Zhou Zhubai. After all, ever since I got back, she had only been focused on Zhou Zhubai, not even giving me a second glance. I didn't care if she was feeling guilty or not. I told the auntie to take the child to bathe. Then I started to walk upstairs. As soon as Su Yingshui left, Zhou Shubai no longer concealed his true nature. I looked at him, confused, and saw him holding up the shopping bags, his eyes full of pride and provocation. Quote, "Do you know why we came back so late today? After the play, we went to the state-run restaurant for dinner. Yingshu got a task in the middle of it, but she was still patient and stayed with me until I was full. She even saw me home before leaving. And your daughter is so obedient. She was picking food out for me and carrying my things the whole way. She almost called me Dad. After saying that, he seemed to be afraid I hadn't seen everything. He intentionally walked over to me, took out the things Su Yingsu had bought for him, and complained while taking them out. Yingshu bought all these things for me. They were so expensive, I told her not to get them, but she insisted, saying they looked good on me. Then, as if he had just thought of something, Zhu Zhubai covered his mouth and mocked, "Oh, I hope you're not mad. You and Yingshu have been married for so many years. Has she ever bought you anything?" My thoughts drifted. In our 5 years of marriage, Su Yingshu had bought things for me. Clothes, watches, shoes. But at that time, she was thinking of Zhou Zhubai. Everything she bought was in his size. I couldn't wear any of it. Now that her true love was back, and I was leaving, she no longer needed me to put her feelings on. "Sir, the child is done bathing." The auntie's voice pulled me back. After a pause, I was about to take Shen Xingmin to the room when Zhou Shubai suddenly walked over and crouched in front of Shen Xingmin. He casually rubbed his face against hers. "Xingman, who do you want to tell you a bedtime story tonight, Dad or Uncle Shubai?" Xingman giggled from the tickling, but she still hugged his neck and said in a childish voice, "I want Uncle Shubai to tell me a story." Shubai looked at me triumphantly, lifted his chin, and carried her upstairs. I laughed at myself and went back to my room with my book. But before I could even sit down, I heard Dubai's panicked cry from Xingmin's room. "Oh my God, someone help!" I rushed into her room and saw Xingman unconscious on the floor, her sleeves rolled up, revealing a rash. Dubai was standing nearby, frantic, holding a half-eaten peanut brittle. My pupils constricted. I grabbed Shubai's hand. "You fed her peanuts? Didn't you know she's allergic? It's written in the recipe book I gave you today." He was startled by my shout, but a hint of guilt flickered in his eyes. He retorted, "That recipe book is so thick, who would read it?" A wave of fury erupted in my chest. I didn't have time to argue with him. I rushed out of the room, carrying the child. After 2 hours of frantic rescue, the operating room light finally went out. The doctor took off his mask and walked toward me, his voice full of relief. "It's a good thing you brought her here in time. If you had been a minute later, she would have died. She's out of danger now." My tightly clenched hands finally relaxed, and I slumped into a chair. So Yingzhui soon arrived, panicked. She rushed into the room. Seeing that the child was out of danger, she straightened up and turned to me. "How did the child suddenly have an allergic reaction?" Before I could answer, Zhou Shubai said, "Yanzhou did it. He must have been angry that you gave me the tickets, so as soon as he got home, he got mad at the child and kept feeding her peanut brittle. I tried my best to stop him, but he pushed me away. If he was angry, he could have just told me. I wouldn't have gone to the play. But he shouldn't have taken it out on the child, no matter what." Listening to Zhu Shubai's distorted accusations, my eyes widened. I had always been an honest person, so I never imagined someone could be so morally depraved, not admitting their mistake and twisting the truth to shirk responsibility. And yet Su Yingshu actually believed this absurd lie. She slowly turned to me, her eyes filled with growing anger. I suppressed the turmoil in my heart. "Jashubai? Do you dare to say that in front of the child?" His face went pale, but he pretended to be firm. "Why wouldn't I dare?" Just then, a voice came from the hospital bed. "Mom?" Su Yingshu quickly picked up the child. She coaxed her gently and then asked patiently, "Tell Mommy, who gave you the peanut brittle?" Shen Xingmin slowly opened her eyes and looked around. The moment she saw me, she began to wail. "Dad! It was Dad!" My mind went blank. I couldn't hear anything. I tried to steady my staggering body. "Shen Xingmin, say that again. Who gave you the peanut brittle?" Seeing my expression, Shen Xingmin subconsciously cowered, and her tears flowed even more fiercely. "Uncle Shubai! I want Uncle Shubai!" Zhu Shubai immediately rushed over and shielded her in his arms. "Don't be afraid. Uncle Shubai is here. Your mom will get justice for you." As I was about to question her further, Su Yingshu grabbed me. Her clear voice was filled with suppressed anger. "Enough. Even a tiger won't eat its own cub. For such a small matter, you tried to kill your own daughter. You're not worthy of being a father. Get out now. Don't you dare come near my child without my permission from now on." Looking at the mother and daughter, all I felt was a ringing in my ears and a growing coldness and disappointment in my heart. Finally, I laughed. My appearance was completely shattered. "Fine. I'll leave. Not just now, but for the rest of my life I'll be far away." Seeing my expression, a slight pang of pain shot through Su Yingshu's heart. In our 5 years of marriage, I had always been calm in front of her. This was one of the rare times I had lost control. But the thought of her daughter's pale face made the anger in her chest almost burst out. She pushed me out the door, then went back into the room. The door slammed shut in front of me. I clenched my fists, no longer looking at the room, and walked out of the hospital, step by step, without looking back. For several days, I stayed at home. I didn't go to the hospital, not even once, to ask about Shen Xingmin's condition, as if her life or death had nothing to do with me anymore. Until one day, the phone rang. As soon as I answered, I heard Su Yingshu's cold voice. The child wants to eat your cooking she hasn't been eating for the past few days. Make some of her favorite dishes and bring them to the hospital. I found it laughable. Didn't you say I wasn't allowed to see my daughter? Su Yingshu's tone paused, a hint of dissatisfaction in her voice. Just because I said you couldn't doesn't mean you can't. Can't you make up for your mistake? Didn't you used to love the child so much? You would get frantic if she got a small scratch. Now she almost died, and you haven't even gone to see her. How can you be so heartless? I laughed at myself. Was I heartless, or were they? My tone was still calm. I'm busy. Since she loves Zhou Shubai so much, you should let him take care of her. I hung up without waiting for her response. I didn't go to see the child until she was discharged and brought home by Su Yingshu. However, that evening, Shen Xingman timidly knocked on my door. As soon as I opened it, I saw her holding a gift, her eyes red. Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lie about you last time, but Uncle Zhubai is so fragile. I was afraid Mommy would scold him, so to protect him, I said you gave me the peanut brittle. I'm sorry. I won't ever lie again. I looked at her coldly, a sneer in my heart. This was the child I had raised for so many years. She accused me of something so terrible for a man she had known for less than half a year. My voice was colder than ever. I don't need your apology. Shen Xingman panicked, and tears welled up in her eyes. Dad, you won't forgive me? No matter what I did wrong before, you always forgave me. My only answer was the sound of the door closing. Su Yingxia had just walked upstairs when she saw her daughter standing at my door, holding a gift and looking pitiful. She quickly walked over, crouched down, and stroked her hair. Is your body still not well? Why are you standing here? Hearing her mother's words, Shen Xingman's mouth drooped. She sobbed and threw herself into Su Yingshu's arms. Mommy, Daddy won't talk to me. I wanted to buy him a gift to cheer him up, but he kicked me out. Su Yingshu's arms stiffened. She looked at the closed door. Don't worry about your dad. He loves you so much. He'll be fine in a little while. She was so certain. After all, I was known for being kind and gentle. No matter what the mother and daughter did, I would never get angry. After listening to Su Yingshu's words, the child nodded in agreement and no longer dwelled on the fact that I had ignored her. Seeing that the child was in a good mood, Su Yingshu even took a few days off and went on a trip with the child in Zhubai. They came back with bags and bags of gifts, but I didn't even spare them a glance. I was busy having farewell dinners with my friends. After a few rounds of drinks, everyone looked at me with emotion. Yanzhou, you used to be the most hardworking and talented person in our research institute. You had the biggest dreams. It's a shame you suddenly got married and stayed at home, stuck in a mundane life. We were so worried about you. It's a good thing you finally came to your senses. I finished the last sip of tea in my cup and smiled softly. Yes, my life has been off course for 5 years, but now it's finally getting back on track. Under the starry sky, I sat on the bus and looked at the fleeting night view outside the window. My mind was full of thoughts. For 5 years, to repay a debt of gratitude, I lost my dreams, my freedom, and myself. Now, the time has come. I'm finally going to live the life I want. Late at night, I pushed open the door to the family dorm and was surprised to see the lights on. I saw Su Yingshu talking on the landline. I was about to turn and leave, but I heard the voice from the receiver. Is this Comrade Chen? The special car will leave in 7 days. Are you ready? Su Yingshu frowned. What's leaving? You're Comrade Shen's wife, right? Don't you know? Comrade Shen. Before he could finish, I rushed over and snatched the phone. I'm ready. I can leave at any time. I hung up the phone and sighed in relief. I looked up and met her questioning gaze. Leaving? Where are you going? My expression didn't change. I said softly, It's nothing. I have an appointment for a physical at the city center in 7 days. Why? Do you want to come with me? Thankfully, Su Yingshu didn't suspect anything. She said flatly, I'm busy. She asked the doctor if there were any issues. Then she went upstairs and came back with a comforter. Su Yingshu's expression changed. She grabbed my wrist. What are you doing? I calmly said, You two have been coming back so late from your trips lately, and it's been affecting my sleep. I want to move to the guest room. Su Yingshu's brows furrowed. Her red lips were pursed in a straight line. Affecting your sleep? I asked you to go with us, but you wouldn't. Are you still mad about what happened last time? Seeing that I was silent, she became even more certain of her guess. Her voice was tinged with annoyance. "It was just a small matter. You were in the wrong, and I didn't even blame you. Why are you still holding a grudge? Can you just stop making a scene?" I laughed and shook her hand off. "Believe whatever you want to believe." Her face was filled with anger. She stared at the closed door, her eyes dark. She wanted to see how long I would keep this up. For the next few days, I locked myself in my room and didn't interact with them. A friend from the troupe was getting married and had invited them to the wedding. As I was getting dressed to leave, I saw not only Su Yingshu, but also Zhou Shubai, dressed up and standing at the door. I paused. Before I could say anything, Zhou Shubai walked over and put his arm around my shoulder with a smile. "Haven't been to a wedding since I came back, so I wanted to come and see what it's like. You don't mind, do you, Yanzhou?" The invitation clearly stated, "and your family," but Su Yingshu brought Zhou Shubai instead. It was like she was trampling on my dignity. Who knew how many rumors would spread in the family dorm and the troupe? Su Yingshu seemed to understand what I was thinking. Just as she was about to speak, I calmly looked away. "Mr. Zhou, please, go ahead." I shook off Zhou Shubai's hand and got in the car. Throughout the wedding, Zhou Shubai was stuck to Su Yingshu. She was very attentive to him, either serving him soup or getting him food or handing him napkins. She completely ignored me, her husband. The family dorm residents' eyes changed, but I remained unbothered, quietly eating my food with my head down. Suddenly, the host's voice came from the stage. "Everyone, come and grab the bouquet. If you're single and you catch it, you'll have a good marriage. If you're in a relationship and you catch it, you'll have a happy, loving, and long-lasting marriage." At his words, the guests all stood up and gathered around the stage. I looked up and saw that Su Yingshu, who never liked to join in on this kind of fun, had also stood up. The wives in the family dorm were relieved and grabbed my hand. "Xiao Shen, look! Director Su is going up. It looks like Director Su wants to grow old with you. Hurry, hurry, hurry!" Director Su caught the bouquet. I looked up and saw that Su Yingshu had indeed caught it. She was walking toward me with a big smile. The smile made me feel a moment of disorientation, but it also instantly brought me back to reality. For so many years, the person who could make her smile like that was never me. Sure enough, in the next moment, she walked past me and, in front of everyone, gave the bouquet to Zhou Shubai. Time seemed to stand still. Su Yingshu acted as if nothing had happened. She looked at Zhou Shubai, who was so touched that his eyes were red, and said gently, "Shubai, may you be happy for the rest of your life." The people around me couldn't stand it anymore. They looked at me with pity, but I watched the scene with a calm expression. There was no sadness or pain in my eyes, only peace, because I knew that Su Ying's words would soon come true. I would soon return him to Zhou Shubai forever. Everyone would go back to their own lives. 2 days before I was to leave, Su Yingsu knocked on the guest room door for the first time. I opened the door. "Is there something you need?" My calm demeanor made the words she had rehearsed get stuck in her throat. At the wedding, she had given the bouquet to Zhou Shubai in front of everyone. Afterward, everyone said she had embarrassed me. He realized her mistake. At the time, she had only seen Zhou Shubai crying and wanted to comfort him. But 2 days had passed, and I hadn't questioned her at all. It was as if I was back to my old self, forgiving of everything. The only difference was that my eyes no longer held her. The days were passing as usual, but she felt a subtle unease, as if something was about to spiral out of control. "If there's nothing else, I'm going to rest now." I was about to close the door. She quickly stopped me. "Tomorrow is your birthday. My daughter and I will be back on time to have dinner with you." My eyes showed a hint of surprise. 2 days ago, Zhou Shubai's house was ready, and he had moved out of the compound. Since then, Su Yingshu and Shen Jingmen often didn't come home at night. That's why I was so surprised when she said they would be back on time for dinner. But it was a good thing. Tomorrow was the day I was officially leaving. I wanted to use this opportunity to make everything clear to her. I would tell her that she was just someone I was repaying a debt to, that there was no love between us. Now her first love was back, and my debt was repaid. We were completely even. As for our child, since she loved Zhou Shubai so much and wanted him to be her dad, I would give her to them as well, so I nodded. "I'll be waiting for you." On the night of my departure, the moon outside the window was exceptionally round. I remembered our agreement from yesterday and cooked an entire table of dishes, thinking we would have a farewell dinner. But I waited for an hour, then another, until 5 hours had passed, and the mother and daughter still hadn't returned. Suddenly, the landline in the living room rang. I had a feeling about what it was. I picked it up, and Su Yingshu's voice came from the other end. Perhaps because she had stood me up, her usually cold voice had a rare hint of apology. "Yanzhou, they're setting off fireworks by the river today. Shubai said he wanted to see them, and Singman and I were afraid he would be unsafe alone, so we decided to go with him. We can't be with you for your birthday today. Can we make it up to you next time?" Shen Jingman's childish voice also came from the other end. "Dad, we have birthdays every year. It's okay if we miss this one. Let's celebrate next year. Mom, let's go. Uncle Shubai is calling us." After that, Singman seemed to have snatched the phone, and the call was quickly hung up. I wasn't surprised. There was no sadness on my face, but only a sense of relief. I returned to the table and looked at the lit candles on the cake. I closed my eyes and made a wish. May our country be prosperous and strong. May our people be happy and healthy, and may I be able to research more advanced aerospace equipment so the whole world can see Made in China. Each time I had said no, it was to sever my ties with them. The moment I blew out the candles, the sound of a horn echoed from outside. A smile spread across my face. I knew the special car had arrived to take me to the base. I stood up, quickly packed my luggage, and walked out without a second glance in the vast darkness. The team leader took my luggage and shook my hand solemnly. "Comrade Shen, congratulations on joining our aerospace base." As I got into the special car and drove away, I took one last look at the house I had lived in for 5 years. I smiled faintly. Su Yingshu, Shen Jingman, goodbye forever. On the other side of town, Su Yingshu's heart ached with a sudden, sharp pain. She clutched her chest, her heart beating faster and faster, as if something was about to leave her forever. This isn't right. He had said he wouldn't come back before, but every time I would say, okay, and he would eventually return. But this time, I hung up the phone without saying a word. It was as if they no longer mattered to me. A premonition filled her heart as her eyelids twitched. Next to her, Shen Jingman hadn't moved for a long time. She stamped her foot impatiently. "Mom, why aren't you moving? Uncle Zhubai has rushed us so many times. The fireworks are about to start." Su Yingshui snapped back to reality. She looked at Zhou Zhubai, who was standing at the door looking at her with concern. Tonight he was especially dazzling, yet she inexplicably thought of someone else. Then his face suddenly loomed large in front of her. "What's wrong?" she asked. Tonight's main event wasn't the fireworks display, but the evening that was to follow. He had spent a lot of money on a foreign-made suit and styled his hair. In the past, Su Yingshu would have complimented him on his handsome appearance. But tonight, she kept staring at the phone, not responding to his calls. It made him a little worried. Will tonight's plan even work? He looked up at her, a smile on his lips. "Yingshu, the fireworks are about to begin. Let's go." Without waiting for her answer, he reached out to pull her hand. In the past, she would have followed him without hesitation, but now her mind was full of my suddenly ended phone call. She pulled her hand away, her face full of apology. "Subai, I'm sorry, I don't think I can go. Something came up at home." Juvo looked surprised. "Didn't you say you would come with me? What could be more important? And you often don't go home." But Yanzhou never gets mad. "Yeah, Mom." Shen Jingman chimed in. Quote, "Dad never gets mad about little things like this. You promised me you'd come with me to see the fireworks and take me out for a treat afterward." Su Yingzhu was reminded that I was indeed famously good-tempered. In the past 5 years, she had missed many important holidays with me, but I had never gotten angry. Besides, she had said on the phone that she would celebrate with me next time. Seeing her waver, Zhou Subai continued, quote, "Even if Yanzhou is angry, you can just buy him a birthday present to make up for it. Come on, the fireworks are about to start." Su Yingshu didn't ask any more questions and followed Zhou Shubai out. The sky filled with fireworks, drawing the attention of countless pedestrians. The cheers of the children and Zhou Shubai's exclamations filled her ears. Her thoughts drifted. It seemed we had never watched a fireworks show together. Every time, I would leave for some reason. She couldn't explain it, but my face kept appearing in her mind. Perhaps she was too distracted, because even after the fireworks ended, she remained in a daze. her mind filled with my image. She thought of my increasingly distant expression and my abruptly ended phone call, and her heart began to panic again. She looked at Joe Shibai. Shibai, we can't do this. I'm already married. Let's end this here for today. Yan Zhou is still waiting for me at home. I need to take the child back now. I'll have someone drive you home. Without waiting for his reaction, she picked up the sleeping Shen Xingmen and left. As she hurried away, Zhou Zhubai's heartbroken expression turned into one of resentment and anger. Late at night, Su Yingshu carried a half-asleep Shen Xingmen back home. She subconsciously called my name, but was then stunned by what she saw. The house was empty except for the auntie. The living room felt much emptier. She thought I was just asleep and was about to go to the guest room to look for me when the auntie's words froze her in her tracks. Sir, he left. The words hit her like a thunderbolt. Su Yingshu stood in a daze for a long time. Who left? She asked in disbelief. She looked at the auntie, unable to comprehend it. How could he leave? In the past 5 years, he had told me to get out many times, but I had always clung to him and refused to leave. Now that he was gone, it must be because I had missed his birthday. He must be just throwing a tantrum. I'm always so good-natured. How could I lose my temper like this? He's probably still in his room. If he's really angry, I can just talk him out of it. With that thought, she resumed her walk up the stairs, reminding the auntie not to make such jokes again. Director, I'm not joking. Sir was really picked up, the auntie said. In the next moment, Su Yingshui burst into the guest room. It was empty. She quickly returned to the master bedroom with the child, but it was also empty. Mommy? Shen Xingmen woke up from the commotion and rubbed her eyes sleepily. My dear girl, go back to sleep, she said, putting her back in bed. After the child was asleep again, she quietly closed the door and went back downstairs. The auntie was still standing there, watching her, and sighed. Su Yingshu felt as if something was striking her heart with great force. Her breath caught in her throat. All she could think of was the auntie's words. He's gone. He's never coming back. How could that be? He loves me so much. We aren't even divorced. He never signed the divorce papers. We're still married. He can't leave me. With that thought, Su Yingshu rushed to the study to find the marriage certificate. No matter where she looked, she couldn't find it. Why isn't the marriage certificate here? Did he take it to apply for a divorce? She picked up the phone and dialed the Civil Affairs Bureau. Hello, Director Su? Our records show that you and Comrade Shen never officially registered your marriage. How can I help you? Su Yingshui, who had been in a daze for a long time, finally came to her senses. It's nothing, thank you. Her mind was filled with the words from the Civil Affairs Bureau. We were never officially married. She gave a bitter laugh and covered her face. Now, all she could think of was that we were never married. The next morning, Su Yingshu woke up on the sofa to the faint sound of her daughter crying. She quickly opened the door to see her daughter, crying in the auntie's arms, calling for her dad. Although Shen Xingmen had been to Zhou Zhubai's house many times in the past 6 months, she still instinctively looked for me when something happened. Perhaps it was because she hadn't slept well last night. But Shen Xingmen had been having nightmares. She would call out for her dad, but no one would comfort her. When she saw Su Yingshu come to hold her, she threw herself into her mother's arms, looking pitiful. Mommy, I want Daddy. But no one answers, no matter how much I call. Mommy, do you know where Daddy is? At the end, she started wailing. Su Yingshu's heart ached, but she didn't know what to say. She pursed her lips and gently coaxed the child. My dear, Daddy went away for a bit. He'll be back soon. But she had no idea when he would return. Shen Xingmen stopped crying. Then when will Daddy be back? Su Yingshu couldn't answer. Her hesitation made Shen Xingmen start crying again. Did I make Daddy angry last time? Is that why he won't come back? I was just so afraid that you would get mad at Uncle Xubai, so I said Daddy was the one who fed me the peanut brittle. Before she could finish, Su Yingshu interrupted. Who did you say gave you the peanut brittle? On the way to Zhu Shubai's house, Su Yingshui drove like a maniac. Her eyes were cold and hard, like the winter wind. She never imagined that Zhou Shubai had forced her daughter to eat the peanut brittle that almost took her life. She thought of all the things he had said about me, and a wave of guilt washed over her. How could a father try to harm his own child? Unfortunately, her heart was filled with anger at the time, and she didn't listen to my explanation at all. She couldn't imagine how heartbroken I must have been. With that thought, she pressed the gas pedal even harder. The Zhou family's servants were used to seeing Su Yingshu's car. They simply greeted her and went back to their work. Su Yingshu opened the door and walked to Zhou Shubai's room. As she was about to knock, she heard him on the phone. "Mom, don't worry. I'm going to be the leader's husband." Su Yingshu's hand froze in midair. She heard Zhou Shubai's smug voice continue. "It's just a woman. How could I not have her in the palm of my hand? I'll get married to Su Yingshu later." With a loud bang, Su Yingshu shoved the door open. Zhou Shubai, who was on the phone, turned his head sharply. His high-pitched voice almost cracked. When he saw who it was, his look of fear quickly turned into one of delight. "Yingshu, what are you doing here?" The rest of the words were stuck in his throat as the angry woman walked toward him, her eyes fixed on him. He felt as if his heart was being squeezed. With every step she took, his heart clenched tighter. When she finally reached him, she slapped him hard across the face. Quote, "You tried to kill my daughter. You knew she was allergic to peanuts, but you forced her to eat them and even made her blame my husband." "It's not true. It's not like that." "Yingshu, please listen to me. I didn't want to hurt your child. I just wanted to drive him away so we could be together. I never wanted to hurt the child." He tried to explain himself frantically, but Su Yingshu was unmoved. "You can save that for the police, comrade. She tried to call me over and over again, but the person on the other end said they hadn't seen a trace of me." Su Yingshu irritably put down the phone. Repaying is only so big. Where could a person with no family and no job go? Suddenly, the phone rang. She quickly picked it up and heard a low voice on the other end. It was my leader. "Yingshu, I heard you're looking for Comrade Shen. Listen to me, and don't look for him anymore. He belongs to the country now." Before she could react, the phone was hung up. Belongs to the country. That meant I had given myself to the country and joined a top-secret unit. It meant she would never see me again in this lifetime. Her breathing stopped. She gripped the phone tightly. At that moment, the auntie rushed over. "Director, you need to go outside. Someone is looking for you." Su Yingshu didn't care about anything else and went outside. She saw a few people carrying boxes and placing them in front of her. "Are you Comrade Shen's wife, Su Yingshu?" She nodded. "Yes. Who are you?" The leader of the group smiled. "Here's the thing. Your father saved Comrade Shen's life. In accordance with your father's wishes, Comrade Shen married you to repay the favor. But your father felt a great deal of guilt, feeling that he shouldn't use a life-saving grace to ruin someone's happiness. So on his deathbed, he had a letter written. With this letter, Comrade Shen could divorce you at any time." Su Yingshu couldn't hear the rest. She dazedly took the letter and the boxes and returned to the compound. She opened all the boxes and found that they were filled with books about aerospace. Su Yingshu picked up a book and read it for a long time, then put it back and opened the letter. Ever since her parents' divorce, she hadn't seen her father. She even held a grudge against him, making an excuse that she was too busy to see him one last time. Only now did she realize how guilty her father felt. He had sacrificed his life to save me so I could give her a home, but then he regretted it and had a letter written so I could be free again. For various reasons, the letter only reached her 5 years later. As she read the last part, her hands began to tremble. No wonder, no matter how I treated him, he never thought about leaving. All of his kindness was because he was repaying a debt. Perhaps in those 5 years I had developed feelings for him, but he never cherished it, and instead gave his love to Zhou Hubai. That's why he was so heartbroken and willingly gave himself to the country. He didn't betray me, I betrayed him. Quote, "Mommy, why are you crying?" Her daughter's innocent voice pulled her back to reality. Su Yingshu quickly composed herself, put the letter away, and wiped her tears. She looked at her daughter, who was holding a pillow. "Why are you still awake so late?" At her words, Shen Xingmen started crying again. "I had a nightmare and I'm scared. I want Daddy!" "Mummy, you said Daddy would be back soon, but why haven't I seen him?" Su Yingshu's heart sank. She quickly pulled her daughter into a hug, but her eyes were full of pain. "Where can I find him?" The vast, desolate Northwest region. Poverty was my first impression of the aerospace base. But I didn't care about any of that. I threw myself into my research. After 2 whole years, my colleagues and I had made great progress. To celebrate, the base held a social event. I wiped the dust from my face and went back to my room. The room was small, with only a bed, a table, a lamp, and a wooden box. I bent down and pulled the box out from under the bed. I took out a set of old clothes, my eyes filled with nostalgia. Ever since I came to the base, I had put all my clothes in this box. I wore a research uniform every day. The last time I had worn my own clothes was when I went to town with my colleagues to buy necessities. Although the base was remote, countless researchers from all over the country had brought their families to live here. A small town was built 3 kilometers away from the base, the only place we could buy necessities. Tonight's social event was in the town square. I put the box back under the bed, poured some warm water from the kettle, and washed myself before changing into my clothes and walking out. A colleague was already waiting for me outside. He chatted excitedly about the evening's event. "Yanjo, you've been at the base for 2 years? Have you thought about getting married? If you get married, you can live in the town. You can go home every day, and the conditions are better there. You'll have access to water every day." I smiled. I haven't thought about that. Right now, I'm completely focused on my research. The two of us chatted as we walked to the bus that went to town twice a day. The scenery outside the window quickly changed from a desolate desert to a vibrant green landscape. Soon, both sides of the road were lined with lush poplar trees, and I knew we had arrived at the town. As soon as I got off the bus, a familiar female voice called out from the other side, quote, "Yanzhou!" I looked up and saw Chao Shi standing there, smiling and waving at me. My colleague teased me and pushed me toward her. I sighed to myself and walked toward her. He smiled and greeted me. "Why are you here so early?" Chao Shi smiled. "The team leader told us to come early to light the bonfire in the square. We're having a barbecue tonight." When I first arrived, meat and vegetables were incredibly scarce. But the people in the town started raising sheep and growing vegetables, and now they are self-sufficient. Because of the big breakthrough in our research today, everyone decided to slaughter a few extra sheep and cook several large pots of mutton stew. As we ate the roasted meat and drank the soup, the social event moved to its most important part, inviting someone you like to dance. There were only about 300 people from the town and the base combined, so there weren't many single men and women. In addition, some people knew they would never leave the base, so they were especially proactive at these events. As soon as the town leader announced the start of the event, many people stood up, holding a flower, and looked for someone they liked. The accordion music began. Soon, couples were dancing around the bonfire. Only a few people, including me, remained seated. Quote, "Why aren't you going to dance?" my colleague asked. "I saw Qiao Shi over there staring at you. She's already turned down several guys just so she could dance with you." I looked up and saw Qiao Shi politely refuse another man. I quickly looked away and shook my head. "Forget it. You know my situation. Why would I want to hold someone back?" When I first arrived, Qiao Shi fell for me at first sight and began to pursue me. Even after she found out I was married, she didn't back down. She said she didn't mind and wasn't in a hurry for my answer. We could start as friends. We had been friends for 2 years now. Just as my colleague was about to say something, a shadow fell over me. He immediately got up to find his dance partner. I looked up and saw Qiao Shi holding out her hand to me. "Do you want to dance?" I subconsciously tried to refuse, but she said, "Just as a friendly dance." After one song, I didn't want to dance anymore. I had probably been sitting in the lab for too long. My body was stiff, and my bones started to ache from dancing. Qiao Shi didn't say anything. She just walked with me to the edge of the square. "It's getting late. Are you going back to the base directly, or are you staying in town for the night?" I looked up at the stars and smiled. "I'll go back to the base. The weather's nice tonight. I can look at the stars." We talked a lot on the way, but we both avoided the topic of our feelings. When I was about to go back to my room, Qiao Shi suddenly called out my name. "Yanzhou, do you remember what I told you 2 years ago?" I paused and looked back at her, confused. Qiao Shi walked toward me and took a watch out of her pocket. "From the first time I saw you, I liked you. I know your situation, but I'm very sure that I like you as a person, nothing else. For 2 years, my feelings for you have been firm. Can you give me a chance?" Her eyes were filled with sincerity and love, which warmed my heart. I had never seen such a strong love or sincerity in anyone's eyes. Even in the years when Su Yingxue had settled down for me, there was little love in her eyes. When I first arrived at the base, I poured my whole heart into my research and never thought I would meet and fall in love with someone again. Although my marriage to Su Yingxue was originally based on a debt of gratitude, I had given it my heart. But my heart was shattered when her childhood sweetheart returned, and my daughter chose him over me. I wasn't so much reluctant as I was unwilling to fall in love again. But Xiaoxi was different. In the past 2 years, she had helped me the most. At first, I was just grateful. But after 2 years, I had opened up my heart again. I like you too, but I'm not sure if my feelings can last. You know my last relationship wasn't good, and I can't guarantee that they won't come looking for me. Or what if they get into trouble and it causes problems for you? Before I could finish, Xiaoxi hugged me tightly. I know, but I don't care. If we're together, we'll be husband and wife, a family. What's yours is mine, and what's mine is yours. We're a family. Yanzhou, before I decided to be with you, I'd already thought of the worst-case scenario and how to handle it. No matter what happens in the future, I will never hurt you or abandon you. We wrote a marriage application and submitted it to the organization. The director was very happy about our union and immediately stamped our application. The moment I received our marriage certificate and the key to our new home, it felt unreal. It wasn't until I was sitting on the sofa in our new home that I finally came to my senses. I watched Xiaoxi diligently clean the house, chatting with me as she swept the floor. You sit and eat some pastries first. When I'm done, I'll go to the butcher and buy some meat. I'll make mutton dumplings for us. No matter what she said, I nodded in agreement. After she finished and sat down beside me, she poured me a cup of warm water to soothe my throat. After we get settled, we'll have a big wedding. The base was remote, and the small town only had one simple photo studio, not to mention any wedding halls. Because of our work, our marriage consisted of getting a certificate, taking a photo, and handing out wedding candy. She shook her head and smiled. It's fine. I think it's great this way. What's most important is that we live a good life together. After we got married, I moved out of the base dorms. Every day on my way to and from work, I would either take the bus with my colleagues or go with Xiaoxi. Soon, another large group event came around. The base arranged a special bus to take us to a larger town to buy some necessities that our small town didn't have. Xiaoxi hadn't slept well the night before and was napping on my shoulder. She woke up and looked out the window for a while before we finally arrived. The first thing I did was go to the post office to pick up a letter from my colleague in Repaying Aerospace Institute. Then, Xiaoxi and I went to a noodle shop for a meal. While we waited for our noodles, I opened the letter. When I read the contents, I froze. There were 2 sheets of paper. One was a personal letter asking how I had been for the past 2 years. The other was an update on what had happened to the Su family after I left. My colleague didn't know who had leaked the truth, but Su Yingshu had finally found out Zhou Zhubai's true nature. She had not only cut ties with the Zhou family, but had also sent Zhou Zhubai to prison. After that, she spent every day trying to find me. She also mentioned that ever since I left, Shen Xingmin cried and threw tantrums every day, insisting on finding me. Even after she was sent to a daycare, it didn't help. The mother and daughter had a brief moment of peace about a year ago after they were hit by Zhou Zhubai's car, which he drove after being released from prison. But because Zhou Zhubai had harmed a military officer and a military child, even the Zhou family's connections couldn't help him this time. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison and would be sent to a rural labor camp afterward. As for the mother and daughter, they hadn't given up looking for me. Since the letters from Repaying Aerospace Institute were sent by a designated person, my colleague didn't know exactly where I was, but he still warned me that Su Yingshu was being transferred by the military and might be reassigned to a base near me. He told me to be careful. After reading the letter, I completely lost my appetite. When I came to the Northwest base, I had decided that I would never see Su Yingshu and her daughter again. Everything I had done had repaid my debt of gratitude. We owed each other nothing. What's more, I was married now. It would be a huge hassle if they came to bother me. Xiaoxi, who was sitting across from me, noticed that I hadn't touched my noodles and asked me what was wrong. I handed her the letter. After she finished reading, she frowned but still comforted me. Don't worry, I'll talk to my friend about this. The news ruined our mood for the day. After buying our necessities, we took the bus back to our town. When I had fallen into a deep sleep, Xiaoxi got up, went to the living room, and made a call. Uncle Jiyu, I need a favor. Yingshu, you won't be able to go to the Northwest this time. Su Yingshu's eyelids twitched, and a sense of foreboding filled her heart. Why? Ever since I gave myself to the country, she had tried to find me. At first, she tried to get a transfer as a family member, but the military denied her application because she didn't have a marriage certificate. Later, someone took pity on her and the child, who had lost their father at such a young age, and unintentionally let slip that I was in the Northwest. There were several national project bases in the Northwest, and even if it took a long time to look through each one, it was better than nothing. So she applied for a transfer to the Northwest Military Region. She had finally gotten her application approved, but the organization called her to the office and regretfully told her that she might not be able to go to the Northwest. The organization wouldn't give her a reason. Disappointed, she went home and saw Xingmen sitting obediently on the sofa waiting for her. After 2 years, Xingmen had become more sensible, but her desire to see me was even stronger. So when she saw her mother come home, she excitedly ran over. "Mommy, when can we go to the Northwest to find Daddy?" Just as Su Yingshu was about to answer, the phone rang. After hearing what the person on the other end said, Su Yingshu's heart was filled with complex emotions. Her mother was dying. Since she was the only child, she had to go to say her last goodbyes. Her mother was at a base in the Northwest. This time, the organization no longer stopped her from going. Soon, Su Yingshu and Xingmen were on their way to the Northwest. After a 3-day, 3-night train ride, Su Yingshu arrived in the city. As soon as they got off the train, she saw the car her parents had sent to pick them up. The car drove along the bumpy road until it reached the Su family home. Looking at the small courtyard, Su Yingshu's eyes were full of complicated emotions. She didn't want to see her mother. She was only there to use her as an excuse to find me. What if I run into him? So she didn't get out of the car, she just handed the gifts to the servant at the door and, ignoring the butler's pleas, went to the other side of the county and stayed at a colleague's empty house. Since she had called her colleague in advance, the colleague's servant greeted her warmly. After resting for a bit, Su Yingshu took the child and went for a stroll. She wanted to buy a gift for me. It was then that she realized she knew nothing about me. When the store clerk asked what I liked, all she could think of were the things Zhu Bai liked. After hesitating for a long time, she pointed to a watch in the display case. "This one." Later that night, Su Yingshu coaxed the child to sleep. She looked at the stars and her heart was filled with complicated emotions. She had already asked her colleague to look for me. It wouldn't be long before she saw me. On the second floor of the Jiang family's house in town, a room was brightly lit. Chao Shi sat at his desk, his brows furrowed as he listened to the person on the phone. Even after the call ended, his brow didn't relax. The door was knocked on. I walked in, wearing my jacket. "Why are you still up so late?" I took Chao Shi's hand and smiled. Seeing that he had something to say, I sat down beside him. "What's wrong?" Chao Shi opened his mouth and then sighed softly. "My friend said that Su Yingshu and her daughter came to the Northwest. They're staying in the county now. They said they're here to see her sick mother, but they're really here to find you, Yanzhou. I know you're worried about this. The town here is for the base's family members. Outsiders aren't allowed to enter without permission from above. But that doesn't mean you'll never see them. The base sends a car to the county once a month, which is the only time we can go buy things the town doesn't have. I can't just hide in this small town forever because of them." "It's okay. What's meant to be will be. We'll deal with it when it happens," I said. "I have a clear conscience. Besides, we're already married." Chao Shi threw himself into my arms. The next morning, I got on the bus to the county with Chao Shi. Seeing her worried expression, I smiled and reached out to smooth her furrowed brows. "Cheer up, we don't get to go to the county often. We shouldn't be unhappy because of them." Chao Shi still couldn't be happy. She just held my hand and didn't say anything. After a 4 or 5 hour bus ride, the bus stopped at the county station. I took Chao Shi's hand, and we got off the bus. Just like last time, we went to the post office first to pick up the letter from my colleague in Repaying. Then we went to the department store to buy some necessities. Finally, we arrived at our favorite noodle shop, carrying all our bags. Before I could pick up my chopsticks, a surprised voice came from a distance. "Daddy!" My hand, holding the chopsticks, froze. I subconsciously lowered my head, but it was already too late. A figure darted toward me. Thankfully, Chao Shi reacted quickly and blocked Shen Jingmen. "Little one, I think you've mistaken me for someone else." Chao Shi knew I had a daughter, but he had never seen a picture of Shen Jingmen, so he instinctively blocked her when she rushed toward me, calling me Daddy. I watched my daughter, whom I hadn't seen in 2 years. My eyes were filled with complex emotions. She seemed a little taller than before, and there was a look of grievance in her eyes. "Daddy," she said. I acted as if I didn't see her, and focused on eating my noodles. Soon another voice came, sounding anxious. Shen Xingmin, where are you? Su Yingshu had taken her daughter out for breakfast early that morning. When she bought the steamed buns and turned around, the child was gone. She immediately followed and found the child standing in a daze in front of a noodle shop. She thought her daughter wanted to eat noodles and was about to tell the owner to get 2 bowls, but her eyes landed on someone. It was Yanzhou. I had changed a lot in 2 years. My hair was shorter and my skin was darker. The only thing that hadn't changed were my bright eyes, but they no longer held any love for her. I didn't react to seeing Su Yingshu. I didn't even look at her. I just wiped my mouth with a napkin and was about to lead Qiaoji away. Quote, Yanzhou! Daddy! Su Yingshu and her daughter subconsciously moved to chase me, but Qiaoji quickly blocked them. I'm sorry, but my husband and I have to catch a bus back. We can talk about it next time. Without waiting for their response, he took my hand and walked away. After our figures completely disappeared from their sight, Shen Xingmin finally started crying. Mommy, did Daddy leave me? Su Yingshu finally came to her senses. She quickly picked up her daughter and soothed her. Daddy didn't leave you? He didn't want me anymore. Did he not even want his child anymore? Late that night, Su Yingshu held the phone, unable to come to her senses. Her friend on the other end of the phone sighed. You know, when Yanzhou loved you, you didn't cherish him. Now that he's married, you're regretting it. I'm telling you, don't do anything rash. His marriage is protected by the state. If you do something reckless, no one will be able to save you. Su Yingshu opened her mouth, but she was still unwilling to give up. She had wanted to ask her friend at the Civil Affairs Bureau to check my marital status, but she never expected to find out I was actually married. You said I didn't cherish him before. Could he have married out of spite just to make me angry? Before Su Yingshu could finish, her friend on the other end of the line was so mad she was about to hang up. Who would go to all that trouble just to get back at you? Their marriage has to go through multiple levels of approval, and their work is special. Once they're married, they can't get divorced. Who would do that just to anger you? Without waiting for Su Yingshu to reply, her friend hung up, leaving Su Yingshu standing there, holding the receiver tightly. The truth of the matter had been laid out in front of her by different people over and over again, but she still couldn't accept that I was married, and she couldn't accept that I didn't love her anymore. She had to find me and ask me to my face. Finally, at a friend's wedding, Su Yingshu saw me again. She wanted to talk, but I felt annoyed. What is there to talk about between us? I had wanted to talk to her before, but she had canceled our conversations again and again just to see Zhou Shubai. Now that she wanted to talk, I no longer had the patience. So I kept my arm linked with Cao Shi's and chatted with friends, never once looking at Su Yingshu or her daughter until the wedding was over. An accident happened as we waited for the car outside. Someone, drunk, mistook the accelerator for the brake and drove straight into the crowd. Yanzhou! Someone shouted. When I reacted, Cao Shi had already pushed me out of the way. A sharp pain shot through his body. Cao Shi, are you okay? My voice was laced with panic and a hint of a sob. Cao Shi helped me up and checked me from head to toe before shaking her head. I'm fine. But I didn't believe her. I knelt down and offered to carry him to the hospital. When I turned, my eyes widened. Although she had dodged in time, Su Yingshu's hand was injured, and blood had soaked her sleeve. Shen Xingmin was in her arms, crying uncontrollably. Yanzhou, Su Yingshu looked at me pleadingly. Could you please come comfort her? She's so scared. I pulled Qiaoji onto the ambulance. The hopeful look in Su Yingshu's eyes dimmed, and a bitter smile appeared on her lips. At the hospital, even though the doctor said Qiaoxi's injuries were minor scrapes, I insisted he stay overnight. Qiaoxi looked at me helplessly. I'm fine, let's go home. No! I shook my head stubbornly. Are you calling that huge scrape on your back a minor injury? I picked up the thermos. You rest, I'm going to get you something to eat. After Qiaoxi nodded, I left the room and almost ran into Su Yingshu. Yanzhou! I didn't stop. I walked around her. Can we talk? She asked. I stopped and looked at her. What is there to talk about? When I wanted to talk to you, you didn't have the patience to listen. Why would you think I have the patience to listen to you now? Xinghao clenched her hands, which were hanging at her sides. All the things she had rehearsed in her head could not be said. Why would he be willing to listen to me now? I saw her like this, and my heart filled with more sarcasm. We were never husband and wife. I have no obligation to listen to you talk. My words hit her like a hammer. Although she knew we hadn't registered our marriage, hearing me say it made her gasp for air. Even if we aren't husband and wife, what about the child? You raised her, so shouldn't you at least go see her? Do you know how much she's missed you these past 2 years? She ended with a hint of accusation. Even if you resent me, the child is innocent. How could you be so cruel and just leave? I laughed as if I had heard a joke. Innocent? Su Yingshu, have you forgotten how your child lied and framed me in front of you? She's a child, but under your influence, she has already gone astray, I said with a hint of exhaustion. When I first found out Shen Jingmin lied to me, I tried to correct her, but before I could, she would throw herself into your arms and say she wanted to go see Zhou Bai. I never had a chance. Even if I tried to stop it, you would use "the child is still young" as an excuse, and tell me not to make things difficult for her. Who is responsible for us and the child ending up like this? I'm sure you know better than I do. Since we've come this far, I'll be clear. My leaving wasn't what you wanted. You can get back with Zhou Bai and start a new family. That child can call him daddy. Aren't you happy? After I finished, Su Yingshu's eyes trembled, and she felt her breath being squeezed from her lungs. You want to push me to someone else? I shook my head. I'm not pushing you. You already belong to Zhou Bai. Your father sacrificed his life to save mine, and he asked me to give you a home. But he never said who the man of the house had to be. It could be me, or it could be Zhou Bai. You have always longed for him. Isn't it a good thing that you are now a family with him? Every word was like a fire, burning Su Yingshu's heart. Her pain exploded, and a sense of helplessness welled up, feeding her resentment. Su Yingshu took a deep breath. There is no possibility between Zhou Bai and me. I already sent him to prison for his crimes. My only husband can be you. I've been looking for you for 2 years. Why didn't you wait for me? Why did you get married to someone else? She remembered the things Xiwezi had told her before, and she took a step forward. Yanzhou, as long as you divorce him, we can go back to how we used to be, okay? In her mind, I should still love her if I had married her only to repay a debt. I wouldn't have had a child with her or stayed with her for another 5 years. Even though I was married to someone else out of spite, she had learned from her mistakes and knew she should be given another chance. And since heaven brought us together again in the Northwest, doesn't that prove we have a chance? I looked at the person in front of me for the first time. What's wrong with your brain? Go get a checkup. Suddenly, a sharp voice came from behind us. Su Yingshu was pushed to the ground. I looked up and saw Qiao Shi, his face full of anger, looking at the woman on the ground. It was the first time I had ever seen him so angry. I immediately ran to him, checking his injuries. What are you doing out here? Kaoshi looked at the person on the ground coldly. If I didn't come out, you would have been taken away. Director Su, ruining a marriage can lead to a prison sentence. Ruin what? Su Yingshu struggled to get up. Yanzhou is my husband, I frowned. Su Yingshu, we never registered our marriage. We have no relationship. I am Qiaoxi's husband now. For 5 years, I was a devoted father to Shen Jingmin, but she never needed my love. I will hold Xiaoxi's hand and tell you now that he is my wife, my family. I looked at Qiaoxi and my eyes softened. He doesn't have to set off fireworks or say sweet words to make me happy. When I'm working late, he'll always ride his bike to come home with me. When I have no appetite, she'll go out of his way to learn how to cook porridge for me. Some of the things I say are just random thoughts, but she remembers all of them and acts on them. He remembers what I like and gets them for me. She silently stays with me when I'm sad. She's also open about her feelings for me. When other men pursue her, she politely rejects them and says she loves me, never hiding our relationship. When I face difficulties, she doesn't give up on me or give me to someone else. She's with me, working and growing together. She's always there for me. You never did any of these things. I said so much in one breath. I always thought I only knew Qiaoxi on the surface, but at that moment, I realized I knew her better than I thought. He had subtly become a part of every aspect of my life. No matter what I said or did, there was always a trace of her. When Su Yingshu heard what I said, she tried to compare her past with me to what Qiaoxi had done, but she was dismayed to find there was no comparison. In our 5 years of marriage, she had always been the one to abandon me, and I was always the one to accommodate her. She never considered my feelings. When we got married, she didn't want a big wedding, so I silently crossed off many names from the guest list. After Zhou Shubai appeared, she gave him all her attention. Even in the car accident, she saved him first. And me? From the start of the accident to the end, she never once thought of me. Her love for me was pathetic, and maybe it was never even there to begin with. I acted as if I didn't see the utter defeat in her eyes and continued. Su Yingshu, the fact that we never registered our marriage meant our marriage was never meant to last. Your father sacrificed his life for me, and I repaid my debt by giving you a home and a child. We're even now. It's better for us to go our separate ways and live our own lives. As for Shen Xingman, I no longer have an obligation to take care of her. She doesn't like me as her father. She just likes my accommodation and care. Anyone else could have done the same. I looked up at her pale face. I've said everything I wanted to say. Don't look for me again. I turned and left with Gao Shi, leaving Su Yingshu standing there, watching my disappearing figure without moving. A long time passed. The pain of her face wound spread. A choking sob rose in her throat. She wanted to call out to me. But she knew it was impossible. Maybe I had loved her once, but she hadn't cherished it. When I first left, she didn't even care. She thought I loved her so much that I would never leave and that all she had to do was persuade me to come back. Until today, she finally knew it was impossible for us to be together. When I spoke, I was calm and angry. I looked at her as if she were a stranger. Late at night, Su Yingshu sat at her desk, looking at the few photos of us that were left. When I left the Su family, I threw everything away, but a garbage collector saw the photos and, thinking they were important, sent them back to her. These few photos were the last connection we had. We took them when we first started dating. My eyes were full of love for her, and I said since we were together, we had to take some photos to remember. At the time, she didn't care. She thought they were just a few photos, and we could take more later. But in our 5 years of marriage, we only ever took that one photo. Even when the child was born, we took separate pictures with the child. In the photos, my face had a boyish smile, while hers was full of resentment. What was she thinking at the time? She touched her face in the photo. She was angry about Zhou Shubai, and that was why she had that expression the whole time. The photographer reminded her several times, but it was no use. Su Yingshu put down the photos and slumped in her chair, staring at the bright light. A hoarse sob came from her throat. I was wrong. I was wrong from the very beginning. She closed her eyes. A few days later, I received the news that Su Yingshu had left with her child. After her mother's death, Su Yingshu didn't stay in the Northwest, but returned to Repaying. Before she left, she had someone send a small box to the town where I was. Inside, a man's watch was sitting quietly. It was a style she liked, and it was my size. But I didn't like it. In the end, I put it in a forgotten corner. Soon, I collected myself and threw myself into my research. Finally, my colleagues and I were rewarded for our hard work. Our research was complete, and Xiaoxi and I were granted permission to go home to Xicheng to visit our families. Although Xiaoxi and I had talked to our families on the phone, this would be the first time we met them. So from the moment we got off the train to the car ride, I was very nervous, and my hands kept twitching. Xiaoxi comforted me. Don't worry, my family is very nice. And they were. They cooked my favorite dishes and gave me gifts that I liked, in order not to disturb us. They even bought us a small villa. Over the next week, Xiaoxi took me on a tour of Haicheng. When I came out of the library, I saw Kaoxi being blocked by a man in a white shirt. Kaoxi's face turned dark. I quickly walked over and tugged on his sleeve. What's wrong? Qiaoxi's expression softened when she saw me. She looked at the man in front of her coldly. Zhou Ye, I've already made myself clear. I don't like you. I'm married now, and this is my husband. A few short sentences were all I needed to understand their relationship. I was about to say something, but Xiaoxi pulled me into the car. On the way home, Xiaoxi explained, Zhou Ye was her uncle's colleague's son. Qiaoxi's uncle had adopted him, and her mother took pity on him, so she asked Qiaoxi to take care of him. But he mistook her care for love and confessed to her in front of the whole family. The confession had made everyone uncomfortable, even the usually elegant Jiang Mu. At first, everyone thought Qiaoxi had done something to make Zhou Ye say such rebellious things, but after a thorough investigation, they found out it was all in his head. To put an end to Zhou Ye's feelings, Qiaoxi had tried to reason with him and even yell at him, but he still loved her. Finally, Kaoji was forced to apply for a transfer to the Northwest, and Zhou Ye's feelings were briefly put on hold. She didn't expect to return for a visit, only to find Zhou Ye again, trying to confess his love. Qiao Ji looked helpless. I patted her hand to comfort her. I wasn't worried about Zhou Ye because I trusted Qiao Ji to handle it. But we didn't expect to hear a huge fight the moment we returned to the ancestral home. "You heartless bastard," a voice yelled. "I know you feel sorry for this colleague's son, but don't sacrifice my daughter's happiness." We looked at each other and rushed into the villa. The place was a mess. The uncle was red in the face. Zhou Yi, who had looked so arrogant before, was now standing next to him, his head down. Jiang Mu had pushed everything off the table, and Jiang Fu was looking at his brother with a dark expression. The butler came to greet us and explained what had happened. In the years that Kuao Xi was away, Zhou Ye's feelings for her had not diminished, but had instead become more serious. He even became depressed, and would sometimes make a scene. The uncle, heartbroken, had come to see Jiang Mu as soon as we returned. He implied that Jiang Mu should convince Qiao Xi to divorce me and marry Zhou Ye instead. Kuao Xi's expression turned ugly. She looked at her uncle and Zhou Ye. "Uncle, this is the last time I will call you that. Yan Zhou and I have a military marriage. It is protected by the state. What you are doing is destroying a military marriage. If you want Zhou Ye to go to jail, you can try. Of course, you can't take his place." The uncle's face changed when he heard that. After raising Zhou Ye for so many years, he couldn't bear to see him in prison. When he first proposed the idea, he even thought about taking his place, but Qiao Xi's words made it clear that he couldn't. Zhou Ye's face also turned pale. He looked at the woman he had loved for over 10 years, his heart filled with resentment. How could she treat him like this? He loved her so much. But not only did she marry someone else, but she also wanted to send him to jail. Zhou Yi stood up, his eyes full of tears. "Qiao Xi, from the moment I first saw you, I fell in love with you. How could you do this to me? Can't you give me a chance?" The answer was a slap across the face for me. I looked at him with cold eyes. I knew Zhou Ye loved Qiao Xi, but I never knew he was so obsessed. This isn't love. This is selfishness. Zhou Ye, do you know what happened to the last person who did what you're doing? The man is in prison, where he's abused. After he gets out, he'll be sent to a rural labor camp. The woman became estranged from her family and was severely punished for her conduct, which also affected a lot of other people. You're from a good family and had a good education. How could you have such a depraved idea? There are plenty of good women in the world. You can go out and find one. If you did what you're doing, have you thought about what consequences Qiao Xi would suffer? Have you thought about the Jiang family, your adoptive father? Do you know how many people your selfishness has hurt? Why do you think Qiao Xi went to the Northwest? With her education and family, she could have gone to Repaying and had a great career. But because of you, she was forced to go to the Northwest. Would you have been able to endure that hardship while you were living a life of luxury? Do you really love her? Or do you want to harm her? The more I spoke, the angrier I became, and my body began to tremble. Qiao Xi immediately hugged me. She looked at Zhou Yi coldly. "I made myself clear a long time ago. I only took care of you because my mother asked me to. I never did anything to give you the wrong idea. I gave you presents, but I also gave them to my other cousins and male classmates. They were all gifts that helped you with your studies, things anyone could have." Zhou Ye's face grew paler, and the slap mark on his face started to sting. He couldn't hear what they were saying anymore. He fainted. The Jiang family was in a state of chaos again. They rushed him to the hospital. Looking at Zhou Ye lying unconscious on the hospital bed, Jiang Mu sighed. She looked at me, her eyes full of affection. "My child, you've been wronged." I shook my head. "It's okay, Mom." Jiang Mu looked back at Zhou Ye in the hospital room, her eyes full of complicated emotions. "It's all my fault. Zhou Ye's mother was a childhood friend of hers, and his father was her brother's colleague. Because of this connection, she wanted to take care of him and told Qiao Xi to treat him like a younger brother. She had no idea that he would misunderstand and think Qiao Xi loved him. When he first had this idea, they thought they hadn't raised him well, so they decided to send him abroad to broaden his horizons. But he thought they didn't want him and refused to leave. Jiang Mu became more and more distraught as she spoke. I also knew her dilemma. Because of the relationship between her and Zhou Ye's parents, she couldn't bring herself to do anything to hurt him, which was why she felt so guilty about me, who had been wrong the first time I came to her home. Seeing her in such a difficult situation, I was about to say something, but Qiao Xi hugged me and shook her head. It wasn't until we left the hospital that Qiao Xi explained. Quote, "Zhou Ye is very stubborn now. No one can talk sense into him. I think we should go back to the Northwest early. I nodded. That's a good idea. When I had said those things to him, fear flashed in his eyes. No matter how much he loved Qiaoji, he was still a little afraid of the state and prison. But because of guilt, his uncle and Jiang Mu would not send him to prison, or allow others to. If they had been more ruthless, Zhou Ye might have given up on Qiaoji a long time ago. But they couldn't because of the last generation's relationship. Qiaoji and I, as the younger generation, couldn't do anything either. Since we couldn't solve the problem, all we could do was hide from him. Qiaoji comforted me. I'm sorry you had to go through this. It wasn't that she hadn't tried to be ruthless and send him abroad before, but Jiang Mu would start crying and causing a scene, and the matter would be forgotten. Jiang Mu didn't not love them. It was just that because of her past relationship, she favored Zhou Ye more, and because of his difficult childhood, she felt more pity for him. I didn't want to get involved in their family matters. After all, I was just her son-in-law. All that mattered was that Qiaoji loved me. I was angry with Zhou Ye because he had said awful things to Qiaoji. Thinking about all this, we were no longer in the mood to go shopping. We rushed home to pack our luggage, leaving a letter behind. But before we could leave, the phone in the living room rang. When Qinaoshi answered, the housekeeper's anxious voice came through the receiver. Zhou Ye is awake, but since he didn't see Qiaoji, he's threatening to kill himself. Normally, Jiang Mu would have given in to his pleas and told Qiaoji to go to the hospital. But Qiaoji was finally married and had a happy life. If she had to divorce because of Zhou Ye, she wouldn't be a mother anymore. In the past, Jiang Mu had treated Zhou Ye better than her own daughter, Qiaoji, because of her relationship with his mother. But now that her daughter was married and might have grandchildren, her daughter and son-in-law were more important. They were her blood. So when Zhou Ye cried and demanded to see Qiaoji again, Jiang Mu slapped him. Zhou Ye held his swollen face and looked at Jiang Mu in disbelief. Besides his deceased parents and his adoptive uncle, Jiang Mu was the person who treated him the best, but now she had hit him. Jiang Mu looked at him, and the tenderness in her eyes was gone. Zhou Ye, I think I've treated you well all these years, but you have tried to ruin my daughter's family and career again and again. As a mother, I can no longer tolerate this. When you recover, I will send you to study abroad. I will also have a servant go with you. Do not come back to this country without my permission. This is the best I can do for you. Otherwise, you'd be in a labor camp in the countryside right now. She turned and left without looking back. This time, his uncle also decided to go abroad with Zhou Ye. After all, he had raised him for so many years and couldn't bear to let him go alone. At the Zhang family's ancestral home, the uncle sat on the sofa, sighing. He apologized to Qiaoji and me. I was a fool last time. I'm so sorry. Although Zhou Ye was his adopted son, he had raised him as his own. As a father, it was natural for him to love his son, but his love had hurt Qiaoji and me, and I still felt a little distant. I subconsciously looked at Qiaoji. She held my hand and glossed over the matter in a few sentences, but she didn't indicate that we were okay with it. So on the day Zhou Ye left, Qiaoji and I didn't go downstairs to see him off. We just stood by the window on the second floor, looking at the scene below through the curtains. Perhaps Jiang Mu's slap had an effect on Zhou Ye. He no longer had his previous arrogance and stood silently on the side. Before he got into the car, Jiang Mu handed him an envelope. After she said something to him, Zhou Ye looked up at the second floor and then got into the car, his head bowed. After the car disappeared, I looked away and up at Qiaoji. She looked at me and said, "Let's go. It's time to go back to the Northwest." Compared to the anxiety and panic of when we first arrived, we felt relaxed going back to the Northwest. After all, the Northwest had our careers, our dreams, and our home. What should have been a great trip was ruined by Zhou Ye. Jiang Mu felt more and more guilty and stuffed a lot of things into our luggage. "No, Mom, this is too much." I tried to stop her, but she dodged me and continued stuffing things into the suitcase. "This is not enough. It's always better to take more." For our last dinner, Jiang Mu personally cooked our favorite dishes. Even Jiang Fu, who was always busy with the military, had taken a leave of absence to be there. We all felt reluctant to leave after the meal. Finally, Jiang Fu took out his treasured liquor and drank a few glasses with me. Late that night, I sat on the balcony chair, drinking. Qiao Shi, who was usually not a big talker, told me many things, even some stories from her childhood. The few stories painted a picture of her wonderful childhood, and I felt envious. Qiao Shi held my hand and smiled. Although my childhood was wonderful, I'm even luckier that I met you and started a family with you when I grew up. Thank you, Yanzhou. She leaned on my shoulder and looked at the stars. I should thank you too. When I first came to the Northwest, I was lost. Although I came to the Northwest to pursue my dream, what was I supposed to do outside of my dream? My last marriage had left me a little quiet, and I was on my own for a long time. It wasn't until Qiaoshi started talking to me and introducing me to a new world and a new life that I truly came back to life. Because of her help, I slowly began to notice her and like her. With her relentless love and pursuit, I slowly opened my heart to her. We continued to talk about many things under the starlight. The day we left for the Northwest, the weather was good. The platform was filled with people seeing us off. Jiang Fu and Jiang Mu looked at us, their eyes full of reluctance. They told us to be careful and that they would come to the Northwest to see us after they were done with their work. The train's whistle blew, and it moved forward in the dark. Qiaoshi and I held hands tightly, our eyes full of hope for the future. The future will be better. After the train disappeared, Jiang Fu and Jiang Mu reluctantly left the platform. On the train to Biping, Su Yingshui finally looked away. Mommy, will Daddy never come back? Shen Xingmin sat obediently beside her, her eyes full of sadness. Ever since she saw her father in the Northwest, she knew he would never come back. Under her mother's guidance and the auntie's advice, she also realized her mistake and had written me several letters of apology. Su Yingshu stroked her head gently. Daddy has his own life and career. It's his business whether he comes back or not. All we can do is pray that he is safe and happy. And we also have to go back to Beiping and continue with our lives. The train's whistle blew again and it moved forward. So Yingshui took one last look at the platform before closing her eyes and silently praying, Yanzhou, I wish you a safe and happy life.